Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Today is the fourth day of JavaScript in DDCDP 23, and what we are going to study is the remaining part of creating elements from the last lecture, and then we will move on to exploring setting and getting attributes, HTML attributes, adding and removing CSS classes, and adding inline styles via JavaScript elements. Then we will move on to events and event bubbling and capturing, and at the end we will be creating a functional slider using the techniques we have learned so far. So let's dive in. Today we will continue with creating elements and then move on to other things as mentioned. So creating elements, we covered document.create element in the last lecture, and then adjacent elements, creating adjacent elements, and now today we'll create template strings and assign them as inner HTML to elements. So that is one of the ways of creating HTML. And then we have to cover insert adjacent HTML function as well. So for example, I have already created these two files. So in JavaScript, the beauty of template literals is that you can create some variable and with backticks you can add, for example, UL and LIs. Even you can go to the next line, then LIs, countries list. So this is going to be Pakistan. You don't need concatenation in it, just like simple this is variable or HTML which has this string in it, which is actually HTML. Now what we need to do is target some element here in, let us create some wrapper. That's it. So the first step will be to document dot query selector dot wrapper container, sorry, and we can assign it some variable. So container is this dot container div now, and we want to assign this HTML to that. So previously we did append child method. Now we can do container dot inner HTML, and this is equal to, this is an assignment actually, or HTML. So this HTML gets assigned to the inner HTML of container with this property. That's it. So if we check it, there must be some problem. Container dot container. Let us go to elements dot container. not the, yeah, maybe. Maybe there is some.
Connect the JavaScript file.
Thank you so much. So you have got some lesson. If you don't attach JavaScript, it won't run. Thank you. So now we have those elements: ul, lis, and then now these are hard-coded values. So with template literals, normally these should be variables, some sort of variables, and this is again very powerful. So we can, without concatenation, we can replace this with any, for example, $, and then this template literals. So here, if you are looping through some array or whatever, so that variable can reside here. We will do it in a while. Okay, so this is one of the ways to assign the parent's inner HTML, the HTML you have constructed via template literals. Okay, there is another one which is known as container dot insert adjacent. Yesterday we studied adjacent elements. Today we will study adjacent HTML. This one, it has two parameters: position, before, and so if you go to its documentation, insert adjacent HTML, position and text, whatever you are going to insert. So it has, the position should be either before begin, after begin, before and after end, and text should be your HTML. And it also says that generally in this method is faster than .inner HTML, so we should be doing this. It's a newer method in JavaScript, faster than .inner HTML, so better we should do this. So for example, here it will be after begin, and then what, our HTML. That's it. So that's the two methods for today. After begin means after beginning of container, insert this or HTML. So maybe we have two ones now. Let us comment the first one. So it has been created via, if we after end, so it will be after the container. If you go to container, and then it is after the UL container, not inside the container. And before end, where it will be before ending of container. So maybe if container has just only one div item, then it will be actually just before the closing. So this is container and this is its end. If we add something else to the page, for example h1, h2, so now you will see it is at the end of it. And if it is before after begin, so it will be after it. So these are the 4 values: before begin, after begin, before and after and. One of the advantages of using template literals is that from JavaScript objects, or in future we will study JSON, you can loop through those data elements and create your HTML. So for example, let us quickly do this, and we will come back to it in future lessons also with an assignment or a application where we will be building some map. But for now, this may give you a hint also for that assignment. So let us create a JavaScript object. We will call it const cities is equal to, rather we are going to create an array. So arrays can have objects also, so it will be more than one object inside the array. So this is an array, that's it. Now it has, for example, I add different objects in it. So it is going to be, this is object, this is object, this is object at 0, 1 and 2 indexes. So we can loop through them as well. So let us start it. City name is, for example, Karachi. Country Pakistan. Continent Asia. So what is this thing? And population, say something like this, whatever. This is optional. The last comma in an object is optional, but it is better off adding it. Maybe you forget it in future and you are adding more elements to the object, so maybe you end up on some errors. So this is the number 1 is in the array, this object. Okay, this is the second one. Let us format it a bit well better. So this is first city, then this is second, quickly copy this and change values. So city name is Delhi, India. Population is, say, maybe more than Karachi. And then the third one is Sydney, Australia. And population is just some digits. You should have prettier or some thing installed so that you have all the formatting on. Okay, so this is now an array of cities, and each city is an object. So my question is, say I am going to access this value, for example. How can I do it? India. The city is the array.
Yes, sir.
Index 1 and then dot country. So for example, it will be cities dot, cities 1, because this is first, this object is first, this is second. So array starts with 0. So this is 0, this is 1, and then dot city, country. That's it. So it will be India. Similarly, if we are to search for country Pakistan, so it will be city 0 dot country, and so on. Is this fine? Okay, now we want to loop through all of this and create our HTML. so that we can display a city name with these values. So we can do it with for loop, but we won't be using for loop from now onwards, okay, because you now know what for each is and what map and filter reduce are. So let us use map for this one, okay. Cities dot map, and the output of, what is the output of map function?
It will not change the existence array, it will create another array.
Yeah, so the return value is another array. So you can call it const, or let for now let cities HTML. For you know it is going to create cities HTML array, or maybe cities yes, that would be better name, HTML array. So this is also going to be an array, remember, okay, but it will map through each element of it and do something. So that's what we want to do. So cities.map and close it so that you don't forget it, though it is optional, the semicolon. Here it will pass a function, that's it. So dot map is passed a function, and that function is passed a value. What that value is, maybe whatever. So we will call it item. We can call it item or element or whatever. So my question is now, what is going to be the item now? Because this is cities. Yes, this is the item. What is the item? Type of item.
This is the object.
Object, exactly. This is array, this is object. So each item will be an object now.
Yes.
Okay. So for example, I need to print this now. So it will be item dot city name, item dot country, item dot this. In second iteration, this will be item dot this, item dot this. Got it? So each time the item is going to be this object now, because it is an array and array contains further objects. So let us do it here. So now you know what the item is. So we will create a div, but return is fine because you have to return element so that it becomes part of the array. And template literals. So div class is equal to something, okay, and better off if you switch to class is equal to, so I want to give each country its own class, okay. So for now we will have it like this, and then close class, then div. Inside this class div we will have all these values. Country is Pakistan, continent Asia, and population is this, okay. So let us do it with all with h2. So h2 is city name, we will call it name colon. Now I want to use this variable, so what it will be, city name item dot dollar this item dot city name, and it is even showing it in VS Code, item dot city name. Okay, let us copy this. Okay, name city name item dot country continent. So country, this is going to be just label, okay. So country is dot country and continent is continent. key. Let us give some space as well. Okay, so continent is continent and population is population. So it's actually looping, and I want to give each of this a class. So class should be the country name. So what it can be? $, this, and country. Item dot country. But we have given the country name as capital, and I want the class to be in small letters. Then what will it will be? Dot to lower item dot class item dot country to lower case. It is not to lowercase. To lowercase is a method. Okay, dot to lower case like this. Okay, so because we have given all the names in capital, it starts with a capital, so that's why we want to have a class of small letters. So dot to lowercase, that's it. But it is now being returned as this HTML, right? And if we console.log, cities HTML array, what is it going to be? Anybody?
All the objects what it have in the array.
It is still in array. The point is it's still in array, because if we console.log it, because the output of map is Karachi is not defined on 16.
In quotation.
Yeah. Strings are always in quotations. We will leave the population as is, because we want to do, if in case we want to do some calculation, so it will just the number. Okay, so now if you see, this is an array, but each array has HTML inside it. We don't want array to have HTML inside it. We want HTML outside of the array. Do you this map function has returned this as an because it is a map function, it returns it as an array. So all this HTML is inside the array, this array. We don't want this. We want HTML to be outside of the array. So for that, you know a function already, dot join. So dot join and dot split. So we can directly use, because it is so we can use cities let HTML is equal to cities array dot join, and join it with nothing. It means if we say comma, so then there will be comma with the but we want to join it, but that's it. And then now we want to console.log HTML. So now this is simple HTML. Div class is equal to Pakistan, closes here. Div class is equal to India, div class is equal to Australia, and div class is equal to, that's it, 3 countries. Now we want this to be, this is now that HTML, simple. we have constructed HTML from this array of objects. Now we want this HTML to be added to the wrapper. So what we can do is container dot inner HTML, insert adjacent HTML, and after begin, let us make it after begin, and HTML. That's it. So now we have, if you can see, let us zoom it in. We have all this HTML: name, country, this, population, this, and if you go to inspect, so we have a container, then these 3 divs, and we can even wrap it inside another container, inside this parent container. It's all up to you then. Okay, so this Pakistan and all the cities in it, and India, and this comes from this data. So in real world, either this data will be coming from databases or some APIs or some JSON based APIs or whatever. So you should be constructing your HTML like this and adding it to the page. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, let us do one exercise. I want to have another set of cities where population is more than, say, this figure. So which cities will come in it? This and this, not Sydney. Okay, so population should be, for example, more than this. How can we do it? We already have studied the array functions. So what's that? Filter. So let us do it with filter.
Filter where we will give the condition.
Exactly. So let filtered cities array is equal to cities dot filter, and it is also going to accept a function, and in function each element is going to be an object, item, or whatever you call it. Okay, so the way filter function works is return some condition. Okay, so if this dot population, item dot population, is less than something or greater than something, so return it. So it will be return item dot population is greater than this. So for example, make it 0. Okay, so if it will loop through each item, and each item here is an object, so we can loop through this. Say the population is this, it will return that object, and it will store it in this array. So if we, for example, I just want to check the size of it. How much are you expecting? I mean, how many of items are you expecting in this array? 2. So what should be the length of this filtered cities array if things are going fine? Console.log this dot length. So if this is 2, it means filtering is working fine. And it's 2, right? Okay, so you have this array now, which is working fine. The next step is, because it is an array, we want it to be just like here we did. We want to join it with this. So even directly we can use, because this returns that array, this is that array actually. So we can directly use dot join and join it with nothing, no spaces in it. Okay, so now this is going to be HTML, not array, because we have already used dot. This is function or method chaining, something like this. So this is now HTML, and we can assign this HTML to any. So let us create a div here in the container in the bottom. Div class is equal to bigger population, and here we should paste our HTML, okay, from that array. So again, this is we can quickly copy this. We didn't convert it to HTML first, so let us remove this for now, and we should loop through it so that we construct HTML from it like this. So we will quickly do it. This is filtered array and filtered HTML is equal to what this is going to be, this array now, dot map, because it has now 2 items, and we will return all of this, and filtered HTML should be added to this div. So what's the next step we are missing still?
Adding to the HTML and adding, sir.
Yeah, so first you need to select this.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So we can select it here, but the better practice is at the top of any page you should select all the query selectors.
Yes.
So, and now we can use dot join here, so that we need HTML. We have looped through it, the map function, and filtered HTML is now the actual HTML, and here document dot query selector, and what is this? Bigger population. Dot bigger population. So we have targeted it. Let bigger is equal to this, and now bigger dot insert adjacent HTML after begin, and this filtered HTML. That's it. Hopefully insert adjacent HTML. Bigger population, bigger population div document query selector bigger population filter HTML. Here it is, these two. Why are these two? Because we have filtered it.
Yes, sir.
For population more than this. If you want to have just Australia, now what you need to do? You don't need to go manually to your HTML. We need to just change one thing. Tell me, what's that?
Greater than the condition.
The condition.
Change the condition.
Condition in the here, if item population is less than this, so now it will just show us Australia. and this is known as dynamic HTML because it all depends upon your data.
Yes.
Data and your conditions, whatever. You are not writing any HTML now. You are just depending yourselves on these conditions and the data in this.
Yes, sir.
So now we have just Australia. Fine. Okay. So let us repeat the second step, rather the whole. We have created HTML in two ways. It was a static one, and we assigned it to the container. Then we created an object of cities, an array of cities, and each city is an object in itself. Then we looped through the cities with map function, and it created this array for us, and we had to make it text so that we can assign it to, and with insert adjacent HTML we did so. Similarly, we went through we wanted to filter this array, this cities array, with some population, so it created this array for us, and we went through it with the map function again, so that this filtered HTML is derived from it, and we assigned it to the bigger population div we created here, and that's it is now showing. Next we will study setting up attributes. What are attributes in HTML? So let us create, for example, a div class is equal to two files, should be better, new ones, attributes.html and attributes.js. Always link it first so that you don't forget. So for example, we have an image tag, src equals some image dot png and this. Okay, so this is the attribute. Image has a source attribute, a link has href attribute, and so on. Okay, so I want to select this source attribute, and I want to know what the attribute is. Okay, so we can target the, and maybe if we can give it a class of image or anything. So document, the first thing is to target the element itself and then its attribute. So document dot let image is equal to document dot query selector and image dot image. Okay, because it is query selector, and I want to console.log image dot src. Get attribute, which attribute? Source. So source src. So we are going to study set attribute, and get attribute, right? These functions. One of them is has attribute also, so we'll study that. Just by the name of the function or method dot has attribute, what do you think what it will return? Has attribute.
Total attribute that is present in the there.
Okay, let's just check. So let's create an image via JavaScript. Okay, so the first thing is let js image is equal to document dot create element, and what we are going to pass into it, img. So this is now in a memory. Actually we need to set its attribute because image has a src attribute. Okay, so document.create element creates an image tag and saves in this variable, and now we need to add an attribute of src to it. So js image dot src, you can directly because source is one of the common and very old attributes in JavaScript, so it's directly on the element js image dot src. We can use this also, but we will use set attribute for now. Which attribute? src. And what's the value of it? It is going to be some image. So I have images here in this directory, images 1.png. We will give it with the source, so it will be images 1.png. you can have any image URL in it. Now image has been assigned a source attribute as well. Now what's the last step in creating an element? And then we need to assign it to some part of our application in HTML. So here we have a div class is equal to wrapper. So first we need to select this and then assign it this image to it. So it's normally very good practice to have all the selections at the top of the page. So let container is equal to document dot query selector, and what's that? Dot wrapper. Dot wrapper, it is going to be the container. So we need to assign this new image which we have created via JavaScript to this container. So container dot we can do a lot of things now, but previously it used to be dot append child, and even we can use append also. So what are we going to append into this container? JS image. That's it. Now if we go to attributes.html, hopefully there will be some image, and that's it. This image is not anywhere in the initial HTML. You can see we only have wrapper and no image, but we still are able to see image in HTML because it has been dynamically generated for us by JavaScript, and the code actually is this. Okay, similarly, for example, if we need to add some ID to this image, so you can assign it js image dot set attribute is going to be ID, and the ID should be image1, for example. So if you go to the markup now, this image has now an ID also of image1. Similarly, you can assign other stuff as well. Let us talk now about and we can do the same with js image dot src as well as dot id. So you can directly assign id with the dot syntax as well, because these are very old attributes which you can directly assign to any selection. Is this okay? Now we need to talk about something called data attributes. What are data attributes? So for example, I have a list of cities, div id is equal to cities, and div 1 is anything. For example, div id is equal to Karachi, and Karachi inside it. Similarly, Lahore, shower, I need to specify which province this city belong to right inside the HTML. Okay, so I have no means of specifying because I have already used. One way is to use class, but in classes we can use other stuff as well, so it will be very hard to extract classes. Okay, for example, I can give class is equal to Sindh. Okay, so I can specify at least visually looking into the code that this city belongs to Sindh. Similarly, class is equal to Punjab, it will mean but I can have other classes as well, something like whatever, bold or italic or all that. So for that very purpose, to store some information in HTML, custom HTML tags, we have data attributes. Okay, data dash something. So data dash province is equal to same, and you can have more than one attribute. For example, data dash country is equal to Pakistan. So you can have multiple data attributes inside one HTML tag, and they always start with data dash province, data dash something. Okay, similarly, so we will move all of these to other elements also. This one will be Punjab, Pakistan. This one will be KP and Pakistan, and this one will be Balochistan, Pakistan. Right? So now, for example, I need to know which province, for example, Lahore belongs to via JavaScript. Okay, so what we can do is we will first select it by ID. So document.get element by ID. So at the top we will have let Lahore is equal to document.get element by ID. The ID is Lahore, for example. Let's check it. ID is Lahore. So now I need to check what is Lahore's province. So what I can do it as Lahore dot get attribute, and what's the name of the attribute? Data dash province. That's it. So get means to get what is inside the attribute, and we can console.log it. Lahore.get attribute data province. Okay, so if we just check console now, there will be Punjab in it. Okay, so you can set attributes and you can get attributes. Okay, for example, here I need to write some CSS. If Lahore dot, as I said, if there is generally in JavaScript API, if there is something dot has, so you should just quickly realize that the output of this has method will be Boolean. Okay, normally if it starts with dot has, it means it returns Boolean. Dot has attribute, if Lahore dot has attribute, for example, data dash province, what does this mean? Print console.log yes. For example, there is we have some div which doesn't have any attribute, so let us give some other city also. And we remove, this is Multan, we remove data dash province from it, okay, and this is Multan. Okay, so in your code what we have written is, if Lahore dot has attribute data dash province, sorry, if let us do it with Lahore. So for now let us remove this. So if Lahore dot has attribute data province, console.log yes, otherwise console.log no. So what do you expect now, because we have removed data dash province? No. But if you add the data dash province again, what's that? Punjab. There is yes. How to make this text short, this code short, this one? I mean, this is 4 lines, 1 2 3 4. How can we make it shorter? Well done. So let us redo it internally. Lahore dot has attribute. If this is true, data dash province. If this is true, so colon. What does come first, question mark or colon? Okay, so Lahore dot has attribute data dash province, so console.log true. Otherwise console.log false. So this is just in one line. Now if this is true, the first line is for trueness or falseness, truthiness for falseness, okay. If this is true, so console.log true, otherwise console.log false. We are specifying the false and true as string here, okay. We can specify the variable as well, so it's again the same thing. Okay, for example, I just need to specify this. If it is true, then run this, so it will be true always, otherwise false. So that's how you can write shorter syntax for if and else. But this is, we can get the data attributes from set attribute and has attribute just like source and anything else, but there is an API within JavaScript again, JS image, sorry, if we get Lahore here, so Lahore dot dataset, so this directly gets you the data attribute, okay. You don't need to specify has attribute data dash this for it, you just need to Lahore dot dataset dot whatever it is. So for example, province, you again don't need to set data dash with it, okay. So Lahore dot dataset dot province and Lahore dot dataset dot country. So this directly lets you get or set data attributes, okay. and notice it should not be with data dash something. You just need to have something, whatever you have, for example this, province, country, and so on. Okay, this is fine. So let us do it that way also. Let us target Peshawar. Okay, so document.get element by ID Peshawar. And we want to programmatically set Peshawar's province to, say, for example, Balochistan for now. And in the code, we have set it as KPK. Here we have KP. But we want to set it as Balochistan for now. So, what can we do? Peshawar dot dataset dot province is equal to Balochistan. Right?
Yes.
So if we check it now, province. Okay, thank you. We need to turn Peshawar's province into ID into P. Now if we check is Peshawar in code, its data is Balochistan, because we have now set it via data set dot something dot this. And if you need to get it, we'll just use Peshawar dot data set, that's it, dot province. So this will return us the Peshawar's province, that's it. Okay, you don't need to specify data dash with it. That's what JavaScript API lets us do. Without the data dash, we can get it. Is this fine now?
Yes.
Okay, now let us switch to events. I have two files already. Event bubbling.js. Bubbling is something else we will do a bit later, but let us start with events for now. So for example, we have a button on the page, or let us quickly create two separate files, events.html events.html and events.js. Okay, so this is events.html and this is events.js. Let us open it in browser. Okay, let us create a button and we will give it an ID of, say, click. Me. And let us give some names to the text to these buttons. Okay, so for example, I will say Tony. Another button is whatever. and let us quickly check it in the browser. So these are two buttons, Tony and Shoni. Now I need to do something with these buttons. Okay, so whatever happens, for example, if I mouse hover it, if I move the mouse over it, okay, so this is mouse over event. If I click it, it is click event, and so on. So there are, whatever happens on in your screen on the in JavaScript, it lets you create events, and you can target those in your code. So for example, if I type, whatever you do in JavaScript, first you need to target it. Okay, so I need to target ID Tony and ID Shoni, both of them. That's the first step. So let Tony is equal to document dot get element by ID, and what's that? Tony. And similarly Shoni. Okay, now for example, I want to console.log something once mouse enters Tony, and I want to when I click Shoni, it should show a pop-up to me, an alert. Okay, so Tony dot add event listener. Again, this is camel case, so add event listener and then the name of the event. So for Tony we need mouse over. So when mouse enters actually Tony, it will do something. So Tony add event listener mouse over, and then the second argument is going to be a callback function, a function which will run not now but once the mouse hovers the button. So it can be any function. For now, let us create it as a callback here. Like this. So once mouse moves over Tony, this function will run. And what this code is, we will, for example, do something like console.log I am Tony. Let's check it. There is nothing in the console right now. But if it okay, yeah, and if we change it to click, then it will require a click to show, right? Yes. And I want to show alert once Shoni is clicked. Okay, right now it is doing nothing, so what we will do, Shoni dot add event listener. You will get used to it once you are using event listeners. Okay, so Shoni dot add event listener, and the name of the function is click, and it will be passed some function. That function can be any callback function, and even you can write some function here and use its name over here. Okay, these are two ways of it. We will do both. So console.log and Shoni. So now when Shoni is clicked, this will be fired. I am Shoni. Okay, and I am Tony. Is this clear? Yes. Okay, so for example, we create a function here, and we'll call it. Generally, in the good developers use handle with event listeners. So for example, I will because this is for Shoni, so I will name it handle Shoni. This is a function, just a simple function, okay, and it will have console.log I am Shoni in it, like this, right?
Yes.
So here now I don't need to write functions like this, and I will just pass it handle Shoni. That's it. Handle Shoni. No. Okay. Yeah. Handle. Okay. Now I have a question. Should there be small brackets or not?
Yes, sir.
This and the previous code were exactly the same. Okay, it's just a function outside, and we need to pass its reference to the callback as a callback function to the add event listener. So because we are not yet running this code, we are just specifying add event listener that this is the function which you will have to call. You are not going to call it immediately. Okay, so you are specifying add event listener that this function will be called once click is done. So that's why you are not going to write two brackets with it, because it would mean to run it immediately now, and this is not expectation of the add event listener method. So we are not going to write this with it. Okay, this means that this function will be run once we click it. Okay, once click happens. So it's just going to be the name of the function, not running it. That's the difference. So it will hopefully be the same thing. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, whatever you want to do, you can specify it to assign any event. You can specify add event listener. For example, I click on document dot add event listener, and once it is clicked, alert, run some function, and that function is going to be this. It will not immediately run. Remember, once the click happens, that will run. So alert document dot clicked. Okay, tell me, I have just added an event listener to the document. What does this mean?
So browser have it is all in the document.
Exactly. So for example, if I click anywhere on this screen now, alert will happen.
Yes, sir.
You can see document got clicked.
We call it window object.
Yes, sort of. Window internally and document both have different. Each window has an document. Okay, and internally they are different, but you are right, sort of. So if I need to have something on the whole page, for example, so I will target document. Okay, so for example, document dot add event listener click function and alert this. One thing, you can specify CSS directly. So for example, we can say document dot body to select body, as it is very common, so we don't need to specify document dot query selector body. Okay, so document dot body dot style dot background color. Okay, one thing in CSS, if something is background dash color, in JavaScript it will become camel case, like this. Background color is equal to red. So what does this mean? If the document is clicked, the body color will become red. It has become red because that got clicked. And this is inline styles. Okay, so This adds inline style to body. You can specify any other styles also. For example, whatever is in CSS, if you just specify dot document dot body dot style dot something, so these are all CSS properties. And you can see border dash radius in CSS, but in JavaScript it is border radius, border right color, for example, whatever. So all of these grid template columns is in grid CSS, right? Grid dash template dash columns. So what do you expect here?
Grid template column.
Grid no dash, okay?
No dash.
Grid template capital T and columns, this one. So this is equivalent to grid dash template dash columns, right? Also, if you want to add CSS classes to something, so for example, I want to add CSS class document dot body dot class list, and here I can add any classes, ABC, whatever. If I need to specify more than one class, what I will do?
With comma.
With comma, something like this.
The comma should be outside the small bracket.
Yeah. Thank you. Like this. Let us go to this is very detailed one on MDN, class list CSS MDN. Self-explanatory it is here. So you are targeting the element def, and if you need to just add one class, it's this is also acceptable dot class name. But you can also add class list dot add something. The toggle means if it already is there, it will remove it, otherwise it will add it. And if you need to add multiple classes, you can diff class list dot add multiple classes like this. And if you need to remove classes, you can remove them like this. Okay, you can even use spread operator if you have an array, for example, of classes. So you can pass to the dot add method that, let's do this one. For example, we already have Shoni here, so we want to add, say, the classes which are in an array to Shoni. So what we will do is let classes is equal to an array of, for example, you know Tailwind CSS, maybe you want to add all the Tailwind CSS classes, add those to arrays, some array, for example, bold, border none, border or border dash 1, whatever. I want to add these three classes to Shoni. So Shoni dot class list dot add, and here we need to specify this. So what we can do is just dot classes. Let us go to the markup of this. So it has three classes now: bold, border, and border 2. So dynamically adding CSS is via class list dot add for classes, and for adding styles, CSS, inline CSS styles. If you go to the markup, you can see body will have some where is body? Okay, once we click on it, it will have that style attribute, inline attribute. Okay, it adds it dynamically to. So dot style basically adds inline styles. Class list dot add and remove or toggle it actually replaces the classes. Okay. Now we need to study something called event bubbling. What is event bubbling? Okay, This is very sort of complex, not very complex but tricky concept. You can Google about it as well. So what actually is event bubbling? I have a page where the name is event bubbling. Div class is equal to country, and inside the country we have div class is equal to province, and inside the province we have city div. That's it. These are three divs. And in CSS simply we have the main country div with some width, padding and background color of light pink. Province has background color of this and padding. So if I preview it in this these are three divs. The pink one is country, this one is province, blue, and the green one is city. Is this, I mean, this is self understood, okay?
Yes.
Now I need to add event listeners to, for example, this one, and this one, all of these three. I will add event listeners to the city one, the province one, and the pink one, country one. So let's do it. Before adding event listener, what we should do? Target the element. So let country is equal to document dot query selector dot country. This is province, and this is okay. Just one concept I forgot in event. Before just continuing this, let us go back to events.html and quickly understand one more concept, and that is what is event object. Okay, what is event object? So for example, if I click on show me add event listener, rather the Tony function. Okay, so Tony.add event listener, click I am Tony. If you need to know further about the what has been clicked and what's the type of event, JavaScript lets you know. JavaScript passes you something in this event, this function, callback function. We can call it e or event. Normally people call it e. Okay, so if I console.log e, once this callback function can be passed some argument, and that argument is event, detail about the event, and we can call it ABC or whatever, but generally people use e or event. So we are console.logging event. Okay, and if I just preview it, so Tony has been clicked, and this is the console.log. So it's pointer event. It has so many properties. Okay, and then there is a target one. What is target? And so on. Target X and Y. So this information can be used by the JavaScript developers to do something with. What is current target? All of this. Okay, client X and client Y. What does this mean? What's the location of this event where this happened? Okay, and so on. So for example, I want to know which button I have. I have hundreds of buttons on a page, and I just can't manually type I am this, I am this. I just want to know what the ID of this button is. or what this button actually is. Okay, so I will just, for example, if I go to events.js again, e dot target. So e dot target is the thing which is clicked. So in this case, what it will be? The button which has been clicked. And if I click on dot, for example, ID, let us just see what it is. So if I click on on line 5, we have output this. So what does this mean? Console.log e dot, so e is where the click happens. Okay, so e dot target means where the click happens, and what's, so where the click happened on Tony. So we wanted to get its ID. If we add some data attribute to it, for example, data dash province is equal to Punjab. Okay, now I want to get this attribute of this, and this one is Sindh, for example. I want, when this is clicked, I want to get the target's data attribute. Which one? Province. So what I will do here in code, e dot target dot dataset dot province. Punjab. So for example, you can have hundreds of elements on a page and you don't know its IDs or whatever. So you need to specify which one is this. If that is clicked, e dot target means the one which is clicked, for example, whatever is the event, and then you can get it as any element on the page. This is mostly used either target and e dot current targets. Is this clear now? So you can pass a parameter to the callback function in an event listener, and that lets you get a lot of information about the clicked event. How will you create a tooltip in JavaScript with multiple elements and you want to make it position absolute, for example? Let us quickly do it. Okay, so we have, let us create two more buttons, a few more buttons, and this is first button, this is second button, this is third button, and this is fourth button. So I want, let us preview it in browser. These are buttons. Once I click it, there should be a pop-up, small pop-up here with a cross in it. Okay, right now just let's do it with a cross. So if I click on this one, the cross will be above it. If I click on this one, the cross will the tooltip will be above it, and so on. Okay, okay, you can even loop through different you can even loop through elements and assign them add event listeners. Okay, so how can we do it? If I select just this button, all these four buttons, what I can do, Shabas. Document dot query, sorry, yes, it is fine. Document dot query selector.
You are writing in the HTML.
At the end of the page, let us do it. Okay, so all buttons, let all buttons equals document dot query selector all. And what's the selector going to be? Button. So it will have 6 buttons now, all of the 6. Now I want to specify an event listener to every one of them. Rather than there are 6 buttons, I will type document dot query selector this button, it will be 6 add event listeners. But in loop, what you can do is all buttons dot for each, and it will have a function. What function does it? This function will run on each element, okay. So this element is inside the function scope now. So element dot add event listener, what's that? Click, and here it will have a function. Okay, so this is that E which we can pass here. All buttons are being clicked for each. Inside this click is being assigned to it, and inside each function we can have the E element, right? So I want to console.log the inner text of that target element. So console.log e.target.inner text. Is it like this? Okay, so what does this mean? We have targeted all buttons, and for each button we are passing a function. You should revise your skills for each. It has an element, so on each element of that all buttons, this event listener is being attached, and then we are passing the event to that callback, and we are console.logging e.target.inner text. Means whichever button is clicked, its inner text will be logged, console.logged. So if I click on this, which page is this? Where is that class list? This one? Now this is second button. We can dynamically know which button is being clicked. Okay, if I click on this one, this is 4th button, so this is 4th button. All buttons have been assigned an event listener, and via e.target we know which the inner text of which element is being output. Is this fine?
Yes.
Okay. Also, I want to console.log the E wherever it is clicked. Okay, console.log e.target. Or let us do directly dot client text. In the target. So E has a client X value 466 and 16. It's E dot something. Okay, E dot client X and client Y also. So now if I click on this, 45024 means to the left it is 450 and from the top it is
24.
where the click happened. You might have heard of Google Analytics or something like this, okay, on web pages. Each and every click is monitored. For example, a visitor came to your page and what did he click actually? So all of these analytics are gathered via such, for example, if this is the button, it shows that the click happened at 164 x and 23 height y. So this controls your events dimensions, just like absolute positions, left and top, for example. So for example, if I click on this is button 4th, so x is 16 and 19. Just quickly, I want to create a div, make it position absolute and give it left of this client x and y of client y. So where the location of that div will be? Wherever the click happens. This is a simple example to let you know we can use these client y and client x. Okay, so when a button happens, what we will do? Create document dot create element what div and assign it to some variable. Letter new div is equal to this. Now I need to give some CSS to this. Dot style dot position. Position will be absolute. New div dot style dot left. Left is it will be e dot client x plus px, because it gives us number, not px. Okay, so we need to add concatenate px with this number. So the left will be this. New div dot style dot top is equal to e dot client y plus px. This is fine. So new div dot style dot left is this, and we need to specify some width also, so that it has some element. Pixels, because it gives us just a number. So we will add, for example, it is 600. So the CSS will be style 600. It won't know it. So for JavaScript we need to specify pixels with it. And if I want to div dot inner HTML or inner text is equal to e dot target dot inner text, and new div dot style dot background color is equal to light pink. Let us see what happens now. Let us remove that click handler from the body. Where is it was?
Line number 17, 18, 15,
Okay,
16.
let us comment this one. Okay,
So we don't
we haven't.
with
Yes, but we have assigned it text now. Okay, we need to add this event, this div, the new div, to some element on the page. So document dot body dot append child, what's that, new div. So this is the third div. This is wherever the click happens, it adds a div there. Okay, so now to move further, you can do proper CSS styling for it, and then you can even add an X or cross inside this
inside that button.
that button. So inside the new div we have created. So if that is clicked, this will be gone. Okay, if I click it on the very start, so where it will start? Here. Wherever the click happens, it creates a div. Got it? You can practice this whole stuff yourself, but this E, basically my point was this E variable which we pass to add event listeners, this one, this is very crucial. You can do a lot of stuff with it. It lets you know where the event actually happened. Okay, which element was clicked dynamically. And for example, here if you see, whatever is being clicked, that text is being copied to the div, not any other elements copied, right? Now we have enough information and knowledge to create a slider. All the elements we have so far studied: adding classes, removing classes, adding HTML, CS styles via JavaScript, creating elements, next previous siblings, all that. So we have all enough knowledge now to create a slider. Before the break, we will create the HTML markup and CSS, and then after that we will continue with the JavaScript. So let us start with creating sliders. Okay, so again we forgot to discuss event bubbling. Actually, topic switched to some other one, but that was important too. So let us come back to what event bubbling is. If you remember, we have these three divs: class, div class equal country, province, and city, right? And if we preview it in the browser, so that's what we see. The pink one is country, this one is, the blue one is province, and the green one is city. And we have even bubbling.js also. So let us, we have already targeted them. Country is document.query selected .country, .province, and .city. Now we want to add each of them. We want to add event listeners to it. Okay. So just like in the loop, we can do it in the loop also. We now have understood what loops are and how we can add event listeners via for each loop. But let us do it differently here for each one. So country dot add event listener, and it's going to be click. And once click happens, a function will run. This is very annoying. Okay, once this click happens on the country, some function will run, and let us it be console.log. We will say country got clicked. Similarly, if we add it to the province also, so province got clicked. And city got clicked. City got clicked. Okay, so these are three elements. If you click on country, the country will it will show country got clicked in console. If we click on province, so province got clicked, and similarly if we click on city, city got clicked, right? No science involved here. So let us open console now, and if I click on this one is country, right, and check, so country got clicked. If we click on the blue one, which is province, so province got clicked. But can you see there are two extra, one extra, and if I click on the city one, there will be three extra. City got clicked, province got clicked, and country got clicked. Why is this so? Let us repeat. If I just click on the country, so country got clicked, right? But if I click on the blue one, which is the province, so it shows two more. Province got clicked and country got clicked.
Actually, province is inside the country.
Well done. It actually is inside it, and you can say these are transparent, sort of, technically. So if country is, if province is clicked, yes, good, province has been clicked, but then it propagates to country also, and similarly to city. So if I refresh the page now, here if I just click on, I am going to click on city. So what are you expecting? All the three. Well done. It shows all the three, and this is known as event bubbling. What is this called? Event bubbling. So event bubbling actually means that your event from the very last level moves upwards. So if I go to the if you check the markup again, so if I click on city, so well, it gets clicked, then the province get clicked, it bubbles up, bubble moves up, so it moves up as well, you can say, and then to country. So actually three separate events happen in just one click, and it moves from the city to province, then to country. This is known as event bubbling. And then there is another one which is called propagation, event propagation. Okay, it is opposite of the bubbling. So it starts from the top towards the bottom, and bubbling starts from bottom towards top. Both are technically, you can say, same. Actually the history is, you can Google it about yourself also, but initially there were different browsers, and some had implemented the propagation, event bubbling and capture, that is capturing, that is known as capture. So capturing is from the top to bottom, and bubbling is from the bottom to top. So some browsers had implemented capture, some had implemented bubbling. So now both are part of the JavaScript. Okay, so how propagation capture happens?
From top to bottom.
Yeah, it is from top to bottom. So for example, I click on country, there is a third parameter to click, function, and this one. Let us go to the .add event listener documentation. .add event listener MDN. And you can see it has three separate types of, if you pass it an object, if you see options normally in JavaScript documentations, so what it means, options normally, what just like I said, if something has something, it will return boolean.
Yes, sir.
But here if you see options, it means it is an object. You can pass multiple options here, and use capture is just 0 or 1. by default it is false. Okay, so for example, if I pass the third parameter here, first one is the name of the event, the second is the function, and the third one is object, and object is capture colon true. If I pass it to all of these, for example, or the first one, and then by default it is false, so that's why bubbling happens. But if it is made true, then capture will happen. Capture means from top to bottom.
So it should be at the end of the function.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, let us come back now. Previously when bubbling was on, when I clicked on the city one, it was printed first, then the province, and then country. Now what are you expecting? Let us check. If I click on the city now, so country got clicked first. Previously the city was clicked first, then province got clicked, and then at the end you have the city. So again, if I come to elements, these are the three divs. Okay, initially when bubbling was on and capture was false, by default it is false. So city got clicked first, and then the province, and then country. It doubles up. But here when capture is on, country is first clicked, and then province, and then it drills down to city. Is this fine? So that's the concept actually. Okay, one more thing. As I said, any event you can get advantage of it. Okay, so if I use pass e to the function, the callback function in the first one to the country, and I type e dot prevent default. E dot stop propagation. This is a method actually. Okay, e dot stop propagation. What do you think it will do? Okay, so for example, if I refresh the page and I click on the city again, I clicked on the city, but country got clicked, that's it. Nothing happens further. So it has stopped getting captured from top to bottom now. I mean, it will not move to the province and then the city. Exactly, it will not propagate. Okay, so e dot stop propagation stops it from going further. Okay. And if I click it on it again, so again it is being printed. Okay, this 2 means it is being output the second time, and then the same. But there is another value which we can pass to this option, which is once true. Once true. Now if I click on it, country got clicked, and it is not increasing, it is not getting printed again. Why? Because if you pass the once to the object true, there are times, for example, you want somebody to click something only once. Okay, so you can pass this once true. Got it? Okay, so E dot stop propagation means it won't bubble or capture. If we remove this capture now, so it means now we will be bubbling things. Okay. Bubbling means from top to from bottom to top, and capture is from top to bottom. Okay, and we want to move this E dot stop propagation to the city one. Now this is bubbling. Okay, city will be clicked first, then province, and then country. So city got clicked, but it is not bubbling up now. Why? Because of this stop propagation.
We can also stop bubbling with stop propagation.
Yeah, E dot stop propagation is used for bubbling also. So it won't move up. It will stop there to the city. Next is event delegation. Event delegation is also a sort of a complex concept, but it actually means let us do the for each again for these. I will comment them out, these add event listeners. It's a bit tricky concept, so let us leave it. I will leave it to you. If you are able to come up with some explanation of it as an assignment, okay? Event delegation. Event delegation. Otherwise, in tomorrow's class, we will do it, okay? So, it's a very cool concept. It dynamically adds event listeners to elements, and if even you have to add future elements to the page, it will fire upon that as well. So we'll do it in the next class. Let us move to slider now. Okay, so we have slider.html, slider.css, and slider.js. Slider.css, slider.html, and slider.js. Let us create some. First we will do the HTML and CSS part, and then we will move on to the JavaScript part. The div class is equal to slider. It's a wrapper div which will have sliders elements. Then let's create a div class is equal to top, and it will be h2 what people are saying about us. So it is going to be a slider of quotations or quotes or reviews or whatever you can say. The person has said something about us, for example a restaurant, and they these are reviews, or they are whatever. So on the top we have this, then div, and you should be using BEM, but let us not complicate things for now. I will be using simple classes here. Div class is equal to slider inner. It will have three elements. Div class is equal to left container or left nav, then the slide elements, and then the right nav. So it will have next, this one will have left navigation, and this one will have right navigation. Right nav. Okay, and inside the, let us go to icons. Hero icons. If you go to hero icons, you can copy SVGs from here. So let us see some left and right ones. This is the arrow left, and this is the, so let us copy this one, arrow left, copy SVG. Okay, and here we'll create a button and paste this SVG here. Is this fine?
Yes.
And it will have a color of, say, light red. Do we have light red color, or green is fine for now? And stroke width is 3.5. Let us also copy the right one.
Third element.
This one.
Fourth down.
This one is very narrow. This, I mean, this one would have been much better. This is here, arrow right. So in the right nav, we again will create a button and paste this. Make it 3.5. The stroke width, and the color is green. Let us quickly preview if it is working fine. Okay, these are actually buttons inside the buttons. So we need, with CSS we will fix this, but for now that is okay. And we will give width also in CSS, because here it has relevant CSS widths. Okay. Is this clear? We have created two buttons and copied SVGs for it, and inside this slider elements we will have the actual content for slide. So let us have div h2 rather h3 Mr. Tony. His designation h4 CEO Multan Sultans, for example, and then some paragraph of text. This is first review and lorem ipsum. Is this okay?
Yes.
Also we need to have an image of the person. So image src equals dot this images. I already have some images and one dot png. Is this fine?
Yes.
So in slider elements we have this for now, and I will just cut it for now. We will have slider underscore element and paste it here. So in elements we will have element. Okay, this is the div. In slider elements we will have the first element. This is the first element, so I will copy paste them. This is the second one. Mr. Show me. And this is the second review. Got it?
Yes.
The markup is going to be so dot slider elements, and then it has slider element. Each one will be done this way. Let us quickly do it for the rest of them as well. So this one is the third one. And like in the previous class, we have said the data will come from data or some object, JavaScript object. So we won't be repeating this again, but for now let us do it the static way. This is the fourth one. This is the fifth one. I think five are fine for now. Okay, so almost we have the markup ready. So let us it's a slider, and then we have a top div, then slider inner has three elements, left nav, the elements, and this. So we will make it a grid. Left nav and right nav will be to left and right, and then the center one will be this. So if I just preview it in the browser right now, so this is what people are saying about us, the left button and then all the elements, right?
Yes.
Okay, let us write some CSS. Somebody said CSS. What it will be, margin 0 and padding 0. Okay, then normally buttons have their own styles, right? So background transparent, none, and border none. Let us see how it is. Width 50 pixels, or let us see how it is now. Here is the button, this. Okay, width 50, height 50 pixels. So now we have a left arrow, and here we have the right arrow. I want to center all of this into the slider, dot slider, margin dash left auto, margin dash right auto, and width say 50%. Will it be in the center now?
Yes.
So now it is in the center. Slider is in the center. Maybe 40% is fine for now as well. Okay. Now I want to. This is the left nav div. This is the right one, right? And this is the center one. So what we can do is make it a grid, and this one will be some static value, and the center one will be fr. So if my markup is slider inner, That's why I had wrapped it in slider inner, because I needed to give it grid. So dot slider inner, display grid, grid template columns, say for example 70 pixels, 1 FR, 70 pixels. What was the markup? No. Dot slider inner, and it is slider underscore inner. That's why it is very important. If you are sticking to BEM, you will know you are not writing the proper class. So now it's on the left and this one is on the right, and then this one is in the center. Is this fine?
Yes.
Okay, let us improve this also and make it in the center, the image. So what we can do, we can give a class to the image, or we already have just one type of images, so we can give it a global style image, width say 100 pixel, and border dash radius 50%. It's fully centered now. How to move it to the center? All of this. So one way is to we have slider elements, okay, and inside the slider elements we have slider element. So in dot slider element we can make it text align center. Dot slider element text dash align center. Do you think image will go to the center? Okay, so this is how it is now. How to give it some space, all of these, some margin bottom in one rule. Do you remember it? Yes, space was in Tailwind, right? But in custom CSS, for example, I want everything to have margin bottom 20 pixels, for example. One of gap only if we make it grid or flex. So there is a simple rule, and let us again do it in dot slider element. Okay, so dot slider underscore element, if all plus all. What does this mean? What does this mean?
All element, first child of all element.
First child of dot slider element.
Exactly.
And not the first, but the any further
Yes, any child.
siblings of it should have. So now all of them have got margin bottom. Fine. These let us center them also and give it some bottom margin, so make it look a bit better. So top, the top padding dash bottom 20 pixels and text dash align center, like this. Is this fine now? These arrows to my liking are a bit to the top, but they will be there. Why? Now the concept of slider is we can give this container a flex also. So let us give it, for example, elements. Where is elements? Okay, we haven't yet selected it. So dot slider underscore elements display flex. So these are now like this, but we will leave them like this for now. Let us make every one of it a position absolute, each of them as position absolute. So I will we mean something by it. Dot slider elements is flex, but this one dot slider underscore element should become, and it will become position relative. This will become position absolute. So once this becomes position absolute, left 0, top 0. So all of them are now
on
top of each other. Okay, that's why I didn't move the arrows down, because I knew I will have to make it position absolute. So that's why. That's it. Okay, the next thing is, now we will leave them like this for now. If I give every element of it opacity 0, so what will happen now? Nothing will be visible. All of them are, but I need to create a class which is dot active. It will have a opacity of 1. Okay, so now whichever element gets dot active opacity, it will be visible, all others will be invisible. So if, for example, the slider.html, the first element is this, I give it a class of active also. So now only the first one is visible, all other are. So this active class is very powerful now for us. If we give it to any element, for example, if I give it to some centered element, this one, so another element will be visible, this one. So it's now only come down to showing the giving active class to elements. Okay, okay, let us create 2 more classes. One is next and one is previous. For now I just give them opacity 1 also, just for now. Okay, because I need to show you something, and the previous one will be opacity 1 as well, and move the next one to transform, translate x and transform. The right, so it will be 100%, and I will do the same for previous one also, but minus 100%. Okay, so transform, translate x 100%, translate x minus 100%, and opacity is 1. Why is it not okay? Now it's we haven't assigned these next and previous classes to any one of these. Okay, so for example, I am here, the active one is this, the previous one will be this, so we will assign a previous class to this, which is image 3, and the next one will be this, next. Now you can see the next one is this, the previous one is this, and if I click on it, yeah, so it will, if I click on it, I will remove the next class from here, and it will
from here and give it to the next class.
yeah, so it has, let me just check if I have something. And eventually once the slider is done,
class must have translate x0. That's all.
yeah, we can exactly, if we need further animation we can do that also. But the next and previous will have x translate x and translate x 100%, and the previous one will have minus 100%. Okay. So let me just show you. For example, initially an element has an active class, and the next to it is next, and the previous one is previous, like this. These are actually classes which would have been given to elements, right? If I click on the next button, because we have created these buttons now, these buttons, this is next button and this is previous. Let us give it some CSS also of pointer cursor. Where is it? The buttons. Left name, this is button, id is equal to next btn. So dot next btn dot next btn will have a pointer cursor pointer, and the previous button and let us give that btn also to the last one, previous button. Now it will have, why is it not working? Dot slider is this the right CSS? Dot next button, next. Okay, we will do it, don't worry. Okay, previous btn and CSS we have previous btn cursor pointer, there are those active classes we created, added this one. Okay, so initially an element will have an active, the next and previous classes, right? Once the next is clicked, what do you think will happen? The active, all of these will be removed initially. All of these will be removed initially from all of these elements. But then what will happen?
We can assign new classes.
New classes. So active will become previous. If we click on next, active will get this one. So for example, next is clicked, I will write previous. Active will become previous, next will become active, and whatever is to the next of active will become next. It will move like this. Similarly, again if the next is clicked, this active will become previous, this next will become active, and whatever is to the next of active, that will become next. And if we redo this for the previous button, for example, this is right now the situation. Let us do it this way. Okay, so if active previous is clicked, okay,
Previous will be
so,
active.
so previous will become active. Whatever has the previous button, it will become active, and whatever was previous to active will become previous. And what will be the next? Whatever is the next to active. So this will be next, and so on. It will move so on. Previous will become active, and whatever is to the next of it. That's it. That's the whole logic actually. But at some time, for example, if you reach the last element, if you are clicking next, for example, there won't be any next. So what will be the next then?
The previous one will be the active.
The first element will be the next.
Yes, exactly.
So how is that calculated? Containers first element child.
Yes,
Dot first element. Similarly, if we reach previous,
yes, sir. The next one,
so the last one
the last one will be the
will be the so last element child, right? We'll take a break and demo it again in with those papers I have created for you,
Yes.
and once that is done, we'll jump on to the JavaScript version. Let us have a 10 minutes break. We seem to have some problem with Z index. So before going into the JavaScript of the slider, let us quickly fix that. So
it is coming inside the div.
yes,
The
that's
div
the
is
reason. So
above that arrow.
we need to fix that. Slider dash element will be
The button will on the browser will resume this.
it should be 99.
It is in the console.
Now it's fine, okay? Is this left name? Left name, okay. So probably we don't need this now. And now let us start the JavaScript part. As I said, whatever you do, you first need to select it, okay? So we need to select these next and previous buttons, because these ones will be the ones which will affect the functionality of the slider. This one is for next, this is for previous. Also we need to select which one is active, which one is next, and which one is previous, okay? So let's do that as well. Document let left btn is equal to document dot get element by class name left btn, and with class name dot get query selector dot left button. Is this okay? Similarly, the right button.
And the buttons are with IDs, not with the class.
Oh yeah, you are right. So we are going to target the buttons, not the containers of it, okay? These buttons. So previous button and next button. This is the next button. Document.get, and we can change it to hash. Hash previous btn, we call it previous button here as well, so that naming conventions are in sync. Then the next button, next btn, right? This is next btn. So also we need to, that we will do inside the function, but right now this is the left previous button, this is the next button. Now once these buttons are clicked, something should happen, okay? So previous or started with next btn dot add event listener, click. Once it is clicked, something should happen. What that something is, it will be inside the function. And let us create, as I said, normally the norm is to add some functions which handle something. So or maybe slider functionality, we can call whatever it is. So let us call it handle slider function. And it will be passed some text. So for now I will just console.log text plus got clicked. So once the next button is clicked, we need to pass a function, and that function will run a function. Inside it, this function will be run, this one, okay? So what is that function? It is handle slider with, we will pass the next with it. So this shows that next has been passed to this function. Similarly, the previous button is clicked. Previous button is this one, okay? dot click function, and we will previous. That's it. And once this function is called, it will console.log this text. Got it? So basically you can break your functions, your code into smaller functions, so that you can easily manage them. Why are we not moving these two inside? So that we can have access to this function. These variables should be accessible inside this function, and here as well, whatever. So if I now just check if functionality is working fine, and open console.log. So if we click on this, okay, we are doing it the wrong way, and this next got clicked. Okay, this is previous button dot click function. Previous is
At the top, sir, it was selected. The next button is previous button.
is the next button, previous button. What's the problem? If you click on the next button,
It's previous, sir.
if you are clicking on the previous button, let us check the markup if there is some problem in it. This is the next button.
We have assigned different classes to it. Right now, at the top, we have to give the previous class. First, we have to give the previous class, and at the end, we have to give it the next class.
That previous
Yes, sir.
the first
Right now,
button
and
name
HTML, in the markup, we have to change it. Replace the next.
Yeah, you are very right. Very sharp you are. Well done. So now if we click on this, next got clicked and previous got clicked. So you have always to start your code with smaller functions, very basic, maybe console.log, so that you know the base is right. Okay, maybe you write a lot of code and then you will see things are not working the way you expect. That's why just so at least this is now working fine. If I click on next, it says next got clicked. If I click on previous, it says previous got clicked. It means everything is fine from the start. And let us recap what we have done. We have selected the two buttons. They are out of order, now they are in order. HTML we have changed it. Then we have function handle slider, which gets a parameter text. So whatever is passed to it, it consoles.log it. Okay, so we assigned an event listener of click in a function to the next button. So next button once gets clicked, this function is called. This function is called but with the next text. Okay, this function is called but with the next text. Similarly, if the previous button is clicked, this function is called but with the previous text. That's why both have different console.logs. Now this is our main function, which will have the functionality of the slider. Okay, so initially let us suppose, for example, this is the at any given position, this is the slider, the active element. So this is active. Okay, this is next, this is previous. So once this is clicked, first thing first, we will remove all these classes which are there in these elements. For example, if this is active, we will remove active from it. If this is next, we will remove next from it. And if this is previous, we will remove previous from it. So let us do this first. So inside the handle text function, we will select all of these elements. So let active el is equal to document dot query selector. What is it is going to be dot active. Whichever element has dot active class, it is known as this. Okay, similarly, whichever element has a next el, this is equal to document dot query selector dot next. And let previous is equal to the same but with a dot previous in it. So as I said, the first task will be, once this button gets clicked, whatever it is, to remove these classes. These elements have these classes, okay? So we will need to remove these classes. So remove these classes. So how will we do it now? Active el dot class list dot remove. What's from active we will remove active. From next we will remove dot remove next, and from previous el dot class list dot remove previous. Okay, if you remember, in our CSS we have given given opacity 0 to all elements, right? So if, and we added active opacity 1, this one, these are next and previous as translate x and transform translate x properties. So let us try if all of this is happening. If we click on it, if I click on the next, what are you expecting?
It will remove all the classes what we have given in the CSS.
Yeah, so active, next and previous will be removed. So once that those are removed, would there be anything visible on the page? Because opacity is 0. So everything has gone. I mean, now the classes have been removed, and because we have given opacity 0 to the class, the elements, they are now 0. That's it. So this is first step. Okay, you will have to remove all classes because you are going to assign those classes to other elements now. Okay, if you examine this function handle slider, this is run for both next button and previous button. So we can use an if condition now. If text is equal to next. If text is equal to next, what would mean that the right button has been clicked, because in the right button, the next button, the next is being passed to it. So if text is equal to next, it means this button has been clicked, and if text is equal to previous, it means this has been clicked. So again, if text is equal to previous, so it means previous was clicked. Got it?
Yes.
So the next functionality will be added here, and the previous functionality will be added here. That's it. Okay, so if the text is next, it will be so that the next button has been clicked, and if the text is previous, it will mean that the previous button has been clicked. Now let us go again to the HTML structure we have. Let us just examine how we should be proceeding about adding classes and removing classes further. So now the active one is this one, the first one. For example, if next is clicked, then currently the next one will become active. So that's what we are going to do now. We'll go to the slider.js and we will add the next active to the next one. So next el dot class list dot add active. So now the next one, el, previously it was next with a class of dot next, now it will become active, and whatever was active will become previous, because if you see, for example, this is active, so once this becomes active, this one will become on the left of the active, and that will be the previous one. So active el dot class list dot add previous. Now we have added two classes, active and previous. Now we need to add the next one. So to which element will this next class be added? It will actually be added to the next sibling of this next el, because it still is next el. If this becomes active, in JavaScript we already have targeted it as next el, so the next to next el will be the next element. So what we can do is, and we have to enclose this in if statement, or we can make a new el like this, is equal to if next el has a next element sibling, it means that if this next exists, if this is active and this it has some next, then it will take it as the next. Otherwise, so we can use or. If this is not available, if this is false, so it will switch to this side of the or operator. So next it will be, so if it is the last element, if this is the last element, so the first element will become the next, then first element of the container. So for that, what we will do is, if we come to the markup here, this is the container, slider elements is the container element, so the first, this one will then be the next one, so we need to target that as well, and we already have targeted it, let container is equal to slider elements. So if this is not the case, means there is no next element sibling, so container dot first element child will be the next element then, and then we need to add class list dot add next to it. So let us understand it again. First, if next is clicked, so this will become the active one. So the next one will add a class of active will get a class of previous, because once this is active, it will move here after the next and it will become previous. And similarly, the next one, now we need to add the next class. So if the next el, which actually is still this one which has been given the active class, so if it has the next sibling, it will take it as the next el. Otherwise, it will take the first child of the container as the next one, and then we are adding the next class to it. For the previous ones, let us just invert these. So previous el will get a class of active. So for example, we are here now. If I click on this is the previous one, it will get a class of active, and active will get a class of next. Why? Because if this is the active one, it becomes this is the active one, and we click on the previous one, so the previous one becomes active, and this one will become next, because it will be active next to the active one, like this. And the previous el, now if we are just checking if we need to have another element after the previous, so just like we did it for next el, we will do it with previous el dot next element sibling, it will be previous element sibling. So any new previous element will be the one which has a previous element to it. It has been added a class, and if that is not the case, if you are on the last element, then the container's last element child will be the previous one, and we will add a class of previous to it. Then we will get a class of previous. Hopefully it will be working now. So if you click on next, this is next, second, third, fourth, fifth, and then we are cycling it to the first one. If I click on this one, it goes to fourth, third, second, first, and then the fifth one. So it's in a loop now and working. We need to add some CSS fixes so that it is truly a slider. Let us add some transition to the active class so that not the active but the next and previous ones. So transition, or we can add it to active transition transform 0.12 seconds is transform. Okay, so let's just check if that is working now. Yes, it is working, and it is working. Now we need to hide the next and previous ones so that we have just one item. So the next one is going to get opacity 0.2, and the previous one always also will be 0. So now we have this, and the next ones are these, the previous ones are these. If you check the markup and the classes which are being added and removed, so initially the first one is active, then next, and then the previous one. So if you click on next, the next one becomes active, and the next to next active becomes next. Then similarly, now we are on the last item, which is next. If the next is clicked, there is no next item, so the first one will be next. Then that's it. Similarly, in the reverse order, previous will be, we are on the previous element, the last one, and if there is no other element previous to this one, previous sibling, so the last child of the container will become previous. That's it. Thank you very much for your presence. Thank you so much. See you in the next class.